Cam Newton with the indecipherable Instagram post. I can't make out what is. All I see is something has been unacceptable and want to be a part of the solution. I still don't get the whole alternative font with all the little squiggly lines, but that's
it is hard to read.
He had been not ambivalent but evasive when asked not that long ago about whether he wants to be with the Patriots in 2021, and the reaction from a lot of Patriots fans was it doesn't matter, they're not going to want him. I mean, that's the threshold question. Based on the things that went wrong this year for Cam Newton and the Patriots, is there enough there that was good, Chris, in your estimation, to make the Patriots want to have Cam Newton in year 2 of the system with the hope that second year will be better, or do they look somewhere else for a quarterback?
I don't think it's as cut and dry as just like, hey, the offense hasn't looked good, we're 6-8, and we're gonna find another quarterback next year. I don't get that sense. I think, one thing, first off, I think there's a legitimate, real respect and love for Cam Newton in the New England building for the way he's handled himself, the leadership he has shown on a daily basis. I think that there is some real, genuine respect there and what he's done for the football team in that manner. Not easy to take over for Tom Brady and deal with what he's dealing. I think also in New England, they're a very realistic group in my, history of knowing some of those guys and working there. They're not going to expect unrealistic things when they know realistically it's hard to accept or get those results with some of the players and team, the way it's built this year. So I don't think they're going to hold him to unreal expectations of what they expected. I think they realize there's issues on their football team at the wide receiver position and all that. So I still think there's a chance he comes back. And as far as New England's concerned, I don't know. The biggest thing is going to be how comfortable do they feel with his knowledge of the offense. I think that's really, to me, going to be the big question. Do they feel like, okay, year 2, now we've got the team organized around him a little bit. Can we pile on all the stuff that we like to pile on mentally with all the formations and rules they have in that offense, which I've told you before is as complex as it gets in football? That, to me, is going to be the big question going forward about whether he's there or not.
I also wonder, and they're never going to admit to this because they don't admit to anything because they don't say anything, are they exasperated with him? Do they look back at where things went wrong and say the moment he tested positive for COVID-19 is the moment this season started to go off the rails, and we had been hammering into these guys every day about what they need to do to avoid it, and he didn't listen to us. And we're not happy about that, and we're not sure that we want to continue the relationship because we're not thrilled about the fact that we emphasized how important this is and he didn't listen to us. So if we can't listen to him on something that important, can we really trust him to be the guy next year and into the future? It's a tough decision, too. And you have all this other heavy lifting that needs to be done to improve the team.
No doubt.
Are you better off grooming a young guy who's going to begin to come into the front end of his prime as they address these other issues? Because, Chris, I look at this and I say, look at the Bills, look at the Dolphins, don't look at the Jets. And they're going to be in a tough spot, New England, for a couple of years minimum. This isn't a quick fix.
Well, look, I don't think it's as horrible, or this is New England. We know they're in incredible salary cap position next year. I mean, it's the best in football, so they're going to be able to splurge
if they'll spend it.
Yeah, if they'll spend it. You're right, but we got the offensive line settled. We know that secondary still got a lot of good pieces there. The big thing is going to be about wide receiver weapons. That has to improve. Stephon Gilmore is getting towards the end of his contract there. I got to look that up. There's a good chance he's not there.
One more year.
Right, one more year, okay. But so wide receivers and then defensive linemen, that's their biggest issue. I mean, that's another thing. New England for years and years has been great because they always have a lot of big people that might not be famous or, somewhat no names, but they can dominate, bigger offensive lines, or not dominate, but not be dominated. And they don't have that this year. So that's, to me, where it's going to start. But you're right, Mike. I mean, I'll throw this out there. The COVID-19 was definitely the downfall. That's where it all started. Not that it was pretty, but to that point, they were playing defense and he was running the ball and making some nice throws here and there, and they were winning football games. But he got COVID-19. They lose to the Chiefs. They kind of outplay the Denver Broncos and make some bad mistakes and lose that football game, and that's where it funneled out of control. I don't think New England will blame him for COVID, especially with the fact that from everything we hear, he was working out with the trainer and trying to be better at football and be better in that stuff. So I don't think New England's going to hold it over him as compared to like maybe if he was like, man, he was, at the club or at the bar or hanging at some restaurant, like, carelessly, that they might have been like, I don't know if we can trust this guy. But like the fact that you hear it was like a workout session and all that, I don't think they're going to hold that against him.
Why do you need to work out on your own, though, when you have that facility that's pristine, that's subject to all the protocols? That makes no sense.
I know. So many players do it. Well, so many players do it. And, at a lot of the times, of course, with NFL football teams, it's a lot of players on a football team. The strength and conditioning coach has to set out workouts that kind of work for everybody a little bit. And with some of these players in the NFL, as much money as they're making and things like that, sometimes they just want something more specific to what they want to do, what they need to improve, and there's a lot of people that do that. I mean, Tom Brady did it when he was up there too. It's just it's part of the new world of football. Let me ask you this, Mike. Do you think the other thing that like possibility, maybe knowing New England, maybe they keep Cam Newton? I don't know what their thought is with Jarrett Stidham. Maybe they draft a quarterback in the second or third round, and maybe they just have him sit behind Cam Newton for another year or so and develop them. I mean, I would think that's a possibility that's on the table as well.
I think that makes sense. The question is, what do they feel about the guys who are going to be available? What do we trust, though, about we don't trust the evaluation of receivers, right? For as great as the Steelers are organizationally, and we have to give GM Kevin Colbert the credit there because he's the guy who's got the title, they do such a good job. The Patriots do such a bad job, and it's Bill Belichick, the GM, and his failings making it harder on Bill Belichick, the head coach, and that's been a lingering issue. But without Tom Brady and without a quarterback who can play at a really high level, and with the losses piling up, it's going to become more and more pronounced. And the other question, too, is how long will the fans tolerate this?
Yeah.
They fill up that stadium. They're spoiled. You've said it before. They take for granted the playoff berth. If they're just a middle-of-the-pack team next year and the Dolphins are coming to town and pushing them around and the Bills are coming to town and lighting them up on the scoreboard, how long will the fans tolerate it, and how do you fix it? And at what point does the Bill Belichick routine begin to wear out in New England? It's one thing to put up with him when he's delivering championships. If he's not delivering championships, that routine is going to get old very quickly. And speaking of an old routine that we know and love, here's a little Belichick from yesterday when he was on WEEI.
Every week he asks if something's changed. And I told you I've already
it has changed, though, because you guys have been eliminated, right? So maybe you look at Stidham the last 2 weeks?
Okay.
No, because I'm just saying because I do wonder what that fine line, how do you balance it, right? I mean, I don't know if it's just because we're watching Cam Newton play, and I think myself and people that watch it, there's a struggle with him moving the football downfield, throwing the football, and we're just looking at. I don't know if it's Stidham's not showing what he needs in practice. Once you're eliminated, to give him a couple games just to see what he looks like in a game as a starter.
Yeah. Yeah, great point, Luke.
My goodness. Again, whatever they pay for Bill Belichick to do that, on one hand, it's not enough. And on the other hand, there's never an amount that's enough to justify it. But there's not enough from the radio station's perspective because that is gold. And you know how hard it is to intentionally fall silent on a phone call like that? I mean, I'm surprised they didn't just assume the call dropped. That's what I would have thought. Hello, is he there? Did he drop the phone? It
sounded like he was digging through the drawer. Like he was like, oh, wait, I got to write some notes to myself about practice later today. Hold on a second. Oh, that's right. I'm on an interview. I just don't think, they're into entertaining those questions. I don't think they probably know exactly what they want to do in the offseason. And I don't think, in case they bring Cam Newton back or have that in their visions, that they want to start that quarterback controversy talk. One thing I know, just with my time with Josh McDaniels in Denver and going in New England, The Patriots are about framing their team, and they believe in getting that general of the ship, a.k.a. Tom Brady or whatever, and now we're going to formulate our team, and this is our lifeline of our team here this year, and they don't want that, quarterback conversation. I think they view that as, a bad thing. It's something that brings them down. I just feel that that's why he's not going to answer those questions, I don't think, and start that, hoopla around that.
It's also a contractual challenge with Cam Newton. He's signed only for this year. They're not going to use the franchise tag on him. We have not seen enough to justify $26-27 million for next year. So they're going to have to let him go out into the world and run the risk of someone else signing him if they do want him back, unless they can get something done before free agency begins in March.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.